Today. So I found myself getting curious this week about the olfactory nerve. So, right, why not? Our sense of smell, right? And how this one sense can trigger not only a physiological response in our body, right? So we smell bread baking, and that causes us to produce saliva, which actually starts the digestive process within our body, right? So there's this whole physical response. But then the sense of smell can also elicit memories and have us experience emotions. So I just got really curious about that and intrigued, and I don't know if I'm alone in this. I might be alone in this, but I'm never alone, but maybe in this. Sometimes I get a whiff of something that isn't actually there. For example, a couple months ago, I was in my car, and I caught the very distinct smell of grape big league chew. Right? And so I have 2 teens, so it's very highly possible that there is like a wad of chewed up grape gum stuck somewhere in my car. But there wasn't, I checked. But I had that smell, and I realized what happened in that moment was that it triggered a memory for me of my grandfather. My grandfather was a big tobacco chewer, and he had his couch, and he had this brass spittoon, and he would actually buy my brother and I packs of Big League Chew, and we would sit next to him on the couch and emulate tobacco chewing. You can agree with that or not, but it was a time of like connection and love and bonding for us in a weird way. But like this is what that smell triggered. Now, how or why I had that smell when there was no great Big League Chew to be had, I don't know. But I found myself this week in a moment of what you might call quiet time, but wasn't really quiet time because it was very noisy in here. I call it the distinct smell of sweetgrass. And now burning sweetgrass is, to me, the absolute best smell that could possibly exist on this planet. And I don't know if that's because I associate it with spiritual practices and being like in a lodge and having that smell and having these profound experiences, or it generates a sense of comfort. I'm not really sure. But that made me very curious about sweetgrass, right? And so if you've ever seen, the grass is individual strands of grass. I don't know if you grow and harvest and braid your own sweetgrass. I do not. I purchased it already braided. But there's, 3 sections which represent mind, body, and spirit. Others say it's human, earth, and sky woven together. Each section has 7 strands of grass. And the first section representing the 7 past generations. The second representing the 7 sacred teachings. So love, humility, truth, respect, honesty, courage, and wisdom. And the third, the 7 generations to come. And sweetgrass is considered a kindness medicine, and it represents strength and resilience. And when you walk the path of sweetgrass, you're giving thanks for nature's abundance and committing to using our gifts to nurture ourselves and the world. And so where this connects is because in that moment of quiet yet not quiet, I caught myself ruminating. The tape was playing, and I was feeling angry with myself because I had allowed myself to once again, in the same scenario, be triggered. And when I'm triggered, I know that if you've ever done any work around resiliency or trauma responses, I was bumped out of my zone, my resiliency zone, and trying to get my nervous system back on. But in those moments, I go to my trauma responses. And historically, we've always thought of those as fight or flight. But what the research is showing now is there's actually other trauma responses. And so I realized I created this awareness that my trauma response is this beautiful dance of freezing, flopping, and then either fawning or trying to fix the situation. Right, because it's uncomfortable and I don't want to be in that space. But this is, for me, good, because now I've named it, and I can claim it, and I can grow through it. And in looking at this, I actually ran across a quote by Robin Wall Kimmerer from her book, Braiding Sweetgrass, which is, "Paying attention is a form of reciprocity with the living world, receiving the gifts with open eyes and open heart." And I thought, paying attention. How do we pay attention? We pay attention by using our senses, by tapping into those senses, including our sense of smell. And that by using those senses, the gift of kindness and compassion, that medicine, is there. We just have to be open to receiving it for ourselves and for others. And we'll take this into a time of prayer. Holy Heart of the universe, may we enter this time with open hearts and open minds. May we open ourselves to receiving the gifts of our time, of our talents, of kindness and compassion, of love, so that we may receive them in our own hearts and then shine them out to others. And so it is.
Bill Brayman isn't here today, is he? No. I don't see him. Bill Brayman filled out this card, this jar card that you are welcome to fill out if you haven't filled out. There's a few up here that answers a few questions about Spiritual Soul Center. Do y'all enjoy these? Yeah, all right. Here's what Bill says. Why Spiritual Soul Center? Looking for a place where my soul can be at peace. All right, take that. What have you discovered here, or what are you hoping to find? Peace of mind amongst like-minded souls experiencing a human existence. Yeah, that we are. How does it feel here, or how are you hoping it will feel? Peaceful, calm, angelic. We haven't heard that word before. How will you enrich this space in our community? By participating and returning all I have been given in an ever grateful manner. All right, thank you, Bill. Well, I was thinking about something to follow up last week. You know, maybe most of you were here last week, weren't you? And I was thinking about how in the world I was going to do that. Because it was a really great Sunday. It was a really great topic because it was one we could all relate to. And I had a flip chart, I'll just remind you. I had a flip chart, so I had this, and I had a pointer, and, you know, it was all just, you know, all this stuff going on. I'm like, well, how do you follow that up? So one of the things I thought of right on is that I'm going to change this pointer for a magic wand, and who knows what might happen, right? Like, no, not really. But, you know, just to refresh, I mean, we're all afraid of making mistakes maybe because we don't realize that mistakes are simply a chance wrapped in anxiety or blame or fear or shame, right? That's what we learn, is that, you know, once we get past that and admit it, we actually realize that making a mistake is a chance. It's a chance to grow, it's a chance to learn, it's a chance to become more of what I really am. And then what happens after that? We just make another mistake and start over again, right? But mistakes are not the only kinds of chances we have, is what I decided this week as I was thinking about this and how I was going to follow that up. It's like mistakes are not the only chances we have. And today I'm going to present a couple of chances to you. And I am going to suggest that you take a chance by believing something different about yourself that maybe you haven't allowed yourself to believe. How about that? So it's a chance because maybe you'll find it not easy to go there. So my inspiration actually was an interview that Rachel Martin with NPR did back in mid-December on her All Things Considered show with Rick Rubin. Now, I didn't know who Rick Rubin is. Do anybody know who Rick Rubin is? Or a couple of you do, right? Yeah, I figured you would, right? Rick Rubin, of course, Jace would know. Okay, who over here said it? Knows Rick Rubin? Oh, Hillary? Yeah. Yeah. So, Rick Rubin is a music producer, okay? He was the co-founder or co-president of Columbia Records. He's a co-founder of Def Jam Recordings and American Recordings. He helped popularize hip-hop music back when MTV was rocking. Yeah, some of us are old enough to remember MTV. It started in 1981, MTV did. 81! Oh my gosh, right? We are old, some of us. Old. 1981. In 2000, he's a 9-time Grammy winner for record producing as a producer. 9-time Grammy winner. And in 2007, he was named one of Time Magazine's 100 most influential people. I was like, wow, you know, this guy, what's going on? Didn't even know him. Didn't know who he was. But now he's the author of a book called A Creative Act, A Way of Being. So this guy who's a record producer who, you know, produced everything from the Beastie Boys to like all these names that we know, the music that I don't. And he decides to write a book called The Creative Way. And so Rachel Martin, who I like Rachel Martin, she's a great interviewer on NPR. And she says that this actually is a spiritual book. And that is for anyone who wants to make something meaningful just because it brings you closer to who you really are. That was the hook that got me. Because I was like, oh, this will bring me closer to who I really am. Not to make money, not to become famous, but to become closer to who you really are. I'm like, oh, yeah, I want that. Of course, I was thinking, well, maybe you all are already there. Is anybody here already close enough to who they really are? Yeah, I didn't think so. I was banking on that. I think most people who come to Spiritual Soul Center realize that we are on a journey of life, and a journey means journeying. We didn't finish. We didn't come to the final spot, and that allows us to always ask questions, right? Is to question life and to question ourselves and be introspective. So today, I want you to take a chance and believe something different than you might have believed. This is part of the interview, and this is a part that I want to start with. So Rick Rubin says this: I don't think of myself as a musician, and he isn't. He's a producer, right? But he says this: I'm in tune with myself, and I'm in tune with my taste, and I can express it clearly. And that's pretty much my job. Rachel Martin says this, great question: are you always right? That's a good question. He says, no, I'm right for me. And that's all I'm trying to do. My job is to be true to myself. When you present a piece of work to me, I can reflect back what's going on in me with as little noise involved as possible, without worrying about, oh, there's a release date, or how's the radio going to play it, or how are they going to feel. Forget all that external baggage. It weighs down the artistic process. And the idea is to get to a pure thing. We're making something with our hearts and souls, and then we're sharing it with the world. And if people like it, it's great. And if they don't, we wouldn't change it, because we've made it with our heart and soul, and it's true. And it's a true thing we're doing. That. It doesn't matter what the outside world thinks. It doesn't matter. Without apologies, the idea is to be true to you, for you, and me to be true for me, and it doesn't matter. So are you? Are you true to you? Like, how would you know? Well, I have a list of questions for you. Then maybe you can answer that question. So, do you worry about what other people think? Do you hide part of yourself because you're afraid to be judged? Do you rationalize? It's just better if they don't know this. Yeah, I knew it. Or do you pretend you like something when you don't? Do you say yes when you really want to say no? Do you even take the time to know what you really want? This is my experience. Most people don't even know what they really want. You say, what do you want out of that? I don't know. It's just bad. I don't like it. And they this and that. They got a whole story this long. The story's this long. Well, what do you really want? I don't know. Like, what do you really want? How do you really want to feel in your life about anything? I think too often we don't even take the time to know that, let alone answer these other questions. I don't think what I'm asking you to do is please consider practicing being true to you and believe that it's worth it. It's not worth it to hide. It's not worth it to rationalize. It's not worth it to just stay safe over here. We have a book study going on right now, and there was a question that came up in the book study, and probably 80% of us, our reaction was, yeah, I wouldn't even go there. I would just leave that over here and just do my thing, and I don't want to rock the boat. Instead of standing up to it or saying what my opinion is or whatever. And I think if it was 80% on there, it might be close to that in here even. Maybe at some time with some things. Maybe not all the time, but sometimes with some things, that's what we do. So I'm challenging you today to think differently and to decide to take a chance, and there's only one person you have to answer to, and that's you. There's only one person you have to answer to, and that's you. To be true to yourself and, of course, be kind. It's not a license to be stomping over everybody else beside you, but be true to you and to be kind. To be true to you and to be kind. I think that's what Reuben is talking about here. To be true to you. That's the most important thing. Well, here's another chance I want you to take. And here's another question for the audience. Is I want you to believe that you are creative. How many people believe they're creative? Yeah. Not sometimes. Well, that's pretty good, huh? Go ahead, keep your hands up a minute. Huh? Yeah? Be creative. Yeah. Some of you don't. In other words, like, I don't have a creative bone in my body. I believe that everybody's creative. And I believe the reason that the people who don't think they're creative are creative because we have a very narrow idea of what it means to be creative. We think to be creative, we need to do art, write poetry, be a fashion designer, be a website designer, create a picture, create pottery. We think to be creative, we have to be in the arts, know how to dance. Like that's a very narrow idea of what it means to be creative. Isn't that all of those who didn't think they're creative? Don't you think that way? Like, yeah, if I can't paint a picture, right, Carolyn, then I'm not creative. Carolyn's an artist. You raised your hand, right? Yeah, okay. Yeah, I mean, or architecture or photography or something. Yeah, I'm creative. But if I don't do any of that, I couldn't be creative. Well, no, it's just not true. What does it really mean to be creative? Here's what the dictionary says, and I had to go to the British dictionary because the American definition was what all of us who aren't creative thought creativity is. I'm like, that's not what it is. The Brits, they know. The British dictionary said, having the ability to create. Having or showing imagination. Okay? Using your imagination to make decisions, to solve problems, and to explore possibilities. To be creative is to have ideas and to implement them. I mean, who didn't do that this week? Have an idea and then implement it. I would say you all did. If you had an idea, I'm getting off. If you had an idea, then you were creative. If you put that idea into manifestation, you are a creator. It's the truth. It's the truth. All the time. If you asked yourself, I wonder how I could make that work, you are creative. If you said, just move that a little bit to the right, put it down, right there, that's it. Creative. When I was putting this message together, I came out of my office, I went around the corner, and I went to see Renee. And I said to Renee, do you think you are creative? And she said this, no, I can say with certainty that I am not creative. With certainty, she said that. I said, excuse me, let me go write that down right away. With certainty, too many of us are like that. And let me tell you, Renee doesn't realize she's creative. I have a list right here, another list. Renee has been traveling to Wallace, North Carolina to her family's farm, and she and her sister and brother-in-law have been repairing a tool shed at the farm. They have taken the roof off, putting a new roof on, they've removed all the siding, removed the rotted wood floorboards, put up new siding, repaired around the windows, put the new roof on. Are you telling me that's not creative? Some of you would look at that and say, I have no idea where to start. Right? Some of us would, because that's not our creative power. But it's theirs, it's hers. Knowing which lumber she needed, what kind of nails she needed, oh my gosh, that's not creative? It created something, a brand new tool shed. Sitting on the farm that no longer leaks. Where the tools can be stored and be safe. No, she's not creative. She's certain of it. When we remodeled our kitchen 8 years ago, Renee is the one who chose all the finishes. The countertops, the backsplash, the cabinet finish, the hardware finish, the floor. She's not creative though. What will it look like? Which sink? Which faucet? All that. She chose, I did the layout because that's my creative thing. I could put it all laid out, give the contractor the information about how to put it together. But the finishes, Renee selected. But she is certain she is not creative. Every week, Renee edits this video. Every single week, she chooses photographs. She decides when to fade in and fade out, how much music to use, when that's to fade in and fade out, which slide to use at the beginning, which slide to use at the end, what it would look like during meditation. But she is certain she is not creative. Certain. She and Olivia at Christmas time decorate our little quad area with Christmas lights. I do not do this. I do not do this. They have incorporated into our quad a mini Brook Green Gardens. There are balls of lights. There are leftover, the things that come off the palm trees that you can make into a reindeer thing, and they have a nose on them and eyes. They have jars filled with lights with battery packs in them hanging from the trees. They have walls of lights coming. But Renee is not creative. I'm here to tell you right now. She spent all day yesterday putting a trim piece in alongside the cabinet that we installed 8 years ago, and she said, it's finally time to do this. Scoped the little thing out, made it work, installed it. It took all day. You know the old thing, measure twice, cut once? It was measure 8 times, cut once. But she did it, and it looks great. But she's not creative because she has decided, I'm guessing, the creativity was more like me putting my, I did a little project with printing fish on paper, this art thing, because it was the art thing. So I'm working on my art thing. I'm the creative one that she isn't. I beg to differ. I beg to differ. All of that is creativity. She had an idea and she was able to implement it. And there's other people in here I know who might not think they're creative, who are extremely creative. Anna Mann started an organizing service. She is able to look at a bunch of stuff this high in a room with no organization, and she is able to see beyond all that stuff, and in a day's time or a week's time, whatever it takes to get through, is able to organize. It looks totally different. Anna, do you think you're creative?
Sure.
Sure, yeah. What else could she say? I did that backwards, you see. I asked the question afterwards. She does spreadsheets. She's getting ready to have the final tally of Alt Azalea Festival. Putting, I don't know how many artists, 5, 6, 8 artists at 11 different venues on one day in a spreadsheet. You think that isn't creativity? That's creative. How many of you can work spreadsheets? Some of us, but not all of us. Not all of us can do a spreadsheet. What about Paul? Paul Staten comes to our Coffee and Conversations, and he tells stories about learning the mechanics of a truck or a car, or trucks. I think they maintain trucks. And he talks about the guys who are teaching him, who are half his age sometimes, are telling him, are problem solving. Like they know if something's happening with an engine this way, they know. Do you think that's creative? That's absolutely creative. I am so happy when somebody can figure out what's wrong with my vehicle, because it's not me. They have to know how something works and then have an idea that they can look at and solve a problem. That's creativity, and Paul's learning something new and being creative in that way. Jim Kimbrough is our CPA for Spiritual Soul Center. He was one of the founding board members, my good friend and his wife from Durham, North Carolina. Jim is a CPA. If I asked him, if you asked any CPA, are you creative? What do you think the answer would be? Oh, it would be, oh, hell no, right? A CPA? Well, look what a CPA does. A CPA looks at the U.S. tax laws, which blows my mind right there, and applies them to me, or to you, or to a business. So it takes all that gobbledygook and gives you this. Like, is that not creative? No, it's not drawing a bird. No, it's not creating a piece of music. No, it's not writing a poem. But man, there's some creativity involved. To have an idea, to understand this, to have an idea, and to implement it here, that is creativity. That is creativity. So, I want to ask you again, will you take a chance and believe that you are creative? Not someday, not after you take a class, but right now. Like, I am creative. You say that with me? I am creative. You were built that way. You were built that way. You came out that way. It's the way it is. Here's another thing, the last thing I want to share with you from this interview that Rachel Martin did with Rick Rubin. She asked this question, which I think is a great question. It's a great question for you and I as well. Do you have a spiritual architecture to your life? I like it. Do you have a spiritual architecture to your life? And he says this, I will say that I'm a seeker. And then she says, a seeker is a thing that's sort of, not to push back on you, but it's kind of easy answer. I'm a seeker. Lots of people are seekers. Then she asked this, do you believe in God? Do you believe in God? And he says this, yes, 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 yes. I have a knowingness that there is a power greater than us that seems to animate everything. That's how I would describe it. However this system works, the world that we're in, this universe that we're in, however it works, I don't think it's accidental. I feel like there's some creative energy behind it, that we have help. When we're making something beautiful, we have help. We're not working alone. And I don't know that setting a goal about it is the way to go about this creativity thing. I feel like a goal could be a limitation. It's more like start finger painting and see what happens. Start finger painting and see what happens. I think all of this says, do you want to be closer to who you really are? If you do, take these chances. Take these chances. Take a chance to believe that I am creative, that I can be true to me without tramping on other people, without doing that. I want to be closer to who I really am, to who I really want to be. That's the message. So the two phrases are, I am right for me, and I am creative. Not someday, not wishing it was so, but today. I am right for me. I am creative. Let's say that together. I am right for me. I am creative. So let's take that into meditation this morning. Take a deep breath in. And come into this place of stillness. To accept, to take a chance and accept something about yourself that maybe you didn't accept before you came in here this morning. To be true to you. To not let it matter what it means to anyone else. That the best that I could offer is to be true to me. And to accept myself as a creative being, animated by that godness that is. Never working alone. Always with the wisdom and the power to create in the way that I create for me. In the way you create for you. What a great gift. What a joyous way to enter into this year. Let's sit for a few moments in the silence. Yes, 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 yes. I have a knowingness that there is a power greater than us that animates everything. There's some creative energy behind it. We have help. When we're making something beautiful, we have help. We are not working alone. What great comfort we have and excitement as well in exactly that. And amen.
May I be filled with love and kindness. May I be well. May I be peaceful and at ease. May I be happy. May all beings be filled with loving kindness. May all be well. May all be peaceful and at ease. May all be happy.
Until next time. Amen.